1/5 of the population of Israel are Israeli Arabs. Some prefer to be called Palestinian Israelis. Most of them are Muslims, some are Christians, and some are Druze, an old religion influenced by both Christianity and Islam. Some Israeli Arabs are Bedouins, a group of historically nomadic tribes. Israel is definitely not an apartheid state. Israeli Arabs have the same rights and opportunities as Jewish Israelis. Arabic is one of the official languages of Israel. There are Arabic political parties. Arabs can and do enlist in the Israeli army, although it is not compulsory for them. Arabs study in universities and hold respected positions in Israeli society. I've been treated by Arab doctors and brought my sick animals to Arab veterinarians. Also, Israelis love Arabic food. Arabic restaurants are extremely popular. Obviously, that's not to say that we're living in a perfect place where Jews and Arabs always get along great and everything goes well. Palestinian Israelis often feel conflicted. Many of them have family in Gaza and the West Bank. They often don't feel heard and represented in a country that is first and foremost Jewish. Of course, there are clashes, there can be hate and ugliness on both sides. In some Arab towns there is gang activity, which the Israeli police can't really get a grip on. But show me a country where none of this ever happens. On the 9th of October 2023, a famous Arab-Israeli vlogger, Nasser Yassin, also known as Nas Daily, wrote the following on Twitter. For the longest time, I struggled with my identity. A Palestinian kid born inside Israel, like WTF. Many of my friends refuse to this day to say the word Israel and call themselves Palestinian only. But since I was 12, that did not make sense to me. So I decided to mix the two and become a Palestinian Israeli. I thought this term reflected who I was. Palestinian first, Israeli second. But after recent events, I started to think, and think, and think, and then my thoughts turned to anger. I realized that if Israel were to be invaded like that again, we would not be safe. To a terrorist invading Israel, all citizens are targets. 900 Israelis died so far. More than 40 of them are Arabs, killed by other Arabs, and even 2 Thai people died too. And I do not want to live under a Palestinian government, which means I only have one home, even if I'm not Jewish, Israel. That's where all my family lives. That's where I grew up. That's the country I want to see continue to exist, so I can exist. Palestine should exist too, as an independent state, and I hope to see the country thrive and become less extreme and more prosperous. I love Palestine and I have invested in Palestine, but it's not my home. So from today forward, I view myself as an Israeli Palestinian. Israeli first, Palestinian second. Sometimes it takes a shock like this to see things so clearly. Just a side note, this was before the real numbers of dead and wounded were known. 1,200 people died, of whom 24 Arabs and 39 Thais. After October 7, Arab Israelis stood together with Jews against Hamas. They too had suffered losses. Some Arabs did downright heroic things to protect their Jewish neighbors. Like Hamid Abu Arar, whose wife was shot point blank by Hamas terrorists, but who, with his baby in his arms, still managed to warn a group of Israeli soldiers about the ambush they were about to walk into. I will let him tell his own story.
נסענו ביום השבת, 7 באוקטובר, אני ואשתי והבן שלי הקטן. הגיעו 8 פנויים, התחילו לירות עלינו כדורים. אשתי אומרת לי, חמיד, אני לא מרגישה את הרגל. על איזה רגל את מדברת? האישה מפורקת. אמרת לה, פאטמה, אשהד אן לה אילה אלה אללה, ואשהד אן מוחמד רסול אללה. נפטרה. פתחתי את הדלת, הסתובבתי לדלת שלה, השכבתי את הכיסא, סגרתי לה את העיניים, ופתחתי את הדלת על הבן שלי, הרמתי את הבגדים שלו, זה, אין לו שום דבר חוץ מרסיסים בכתף. אני מסתכל צידה, אני רואה בלר, הארון של החשמל הגדול הזה. אז הלכתי, התחביתי בתוך הבלר, וסגרתי את הדלתות עליי. אני בתינוק שלי, בתינוק בוכה. רוצה כמובן לשתות חלב מאמא שלו. אחרי איזה 5 שעות מגיעים 4 מאלו המחבלים של חמאס, התחבאו בגב של הבלר שאני נמצא בו. פתאום אני שומע מהצד השני עברית. אני מסתכל מאחור של הבלר, אני רואה את הצבא, החמאסניקים בגב שלי. אז אחד מהם אומר, תן להם להתקדם עוד 6-7 מטרים ולחסל את כולם. אז אמרתי, חמיד, החלטה מהירה. תפסתי את התינוק שלי, פתחתי את הדלת ויצאתי לצבא. אמרתי להם, אתם בשטח אש עכשיו, אם היו מתקדמים עוד 5 מטרים, כולם היו נרצחים על פלנט, על בטוח. יצאתי אני מנס, והצלנו את החיילים, הביאו לנו מים וטיפלו בילד שלי. ואת הגב שלו ירדו. הרססים בגב שלו, מסכין. הוא בסדר. הוא עדיין תינוק. אז הוא יודע את מי הוא הרג. אמא ל9 ילדים. הגדול שלי בן 8.5. מה אני אעשה? אני לא יודע. סתם משכנע את עצמי. אומר, אני אתגבר. כל יום אני בבית העלמין, ליד אשתי. מנסה לחשוב, מנסה לעכל, מנסה לנתח. אין פירוש לזה. הוא הרג אמא מוסלמית, שומרת. אמא ל4 בנות לומדות את הקוראן, שהוא לא יודע את הקוראן. אז על איזה אסלאם אנחנו מדברים? אתה יכול להגיד לי על איזה אסלאם אנחנו מדברים? שהאסלאם שלנו, חבר'ה, לא אומר את זה. האסלאם שלנו הפוך ממה שהם עשו. גם הערבים הישראלים ראו. מה עשו חמאס? צריך לעשות שינוי. כל מי שחי במדינה הזאת צריך להיות גוף אחד. ערבי, יהודי, צריך להיות גוף אחד. אחרת, מישהו בא להכניס לנו את השנאה וזה, אין זמן לדברים האלה.
On February 12 of this year, 13 Bedouin heroes of October 7 were honored in an awards ceremony. One of those was Youssef Aziadna, a 47-year-old Bedouin taxi driver. He is credited with saving the lives of 30 people from the Supernova Festival. Youssef Aziadna got a panicked call early in the morning on October 7 from someone he was supposed to pick up from the Supernova Festival later that day. The man begged him to come pick him and his friends up right now. Amid sirens and rocket explosions, Youssef got into his minivan and started driving. At the Sa'ad junction, he got caught in gunfire and hid at the side of the road together with 2 other people who were fleeing from the party. The 2 told him to go back, that he couldn't drive straight into the chaos, that he would be committing suicide. But Youssef decided not to go back. He drove on to the party, in the middle of the gunfire, around dead bodies lying on the road, and picked up his customers. He packed as many people as possible into the minivan and picked up another 2 wounded people on the way back. In total, he rescued 30 people from the hell of Supernova. Youssef said, "I would never wish on anyone to see what I saw. This is trauma for my whole life. When I sit alone and recollect, I can't help the tears. He now speaks to a psychologist every evening. He has received threats from people who claim to be Hamas members, telling him that they will make him pay for saving Jews. The Al-Ziadna family is a large and influential Bedouin family clan. They have been hit hard by the attack on October 7. One of Youssef Al-Ziadna's cousins, Abed Al-Ziadna, was one of the many casualties of October 7. He was shot to death by terrorists on Zikim beach. His body was described as riddled with bullets. Another 4 of the Al-Ziadna family members were taken hostage. They worked in the dairy farm of Kibbutz Cholit. One of the family, also called Youssef Al-Ziadna, had worked there for 17 years. 3 of his children, Hamza, Bilal and Aisha, started working with him when they were old enough. On October 7, they were all at work when the terrorists invaded Kibbutz Cholit. At the end of the day, all 4 were marked as missing. Later, they were seen in security footage, being led into Gaza on foot. Their status was adjusted to hostages. After 7 weeks of captivity, minors Aisha and Bilal were released. But Hamza and Youssef remain in the tunnels of Hamas. Their extensive family is terrified for them. Youssef has 2 wives and 19 children. He suffers from diabetes, and his family is worried that he doesn't have his medication. Hamza is married and the father of 2 children. He suffers from migraines, and he doesn't have his medication either. Other than the Al-Ziadna family, there are 3 more Bedouin hostages. One of them was Samer Talalka. On December 15, Samer managed to escape his prison, together with 2 other Israeli hostages. They tried to get the IDF to notice and rescue them, but instead, the IDF soldiers thought they were being ambushed and shot them. In a tragic and terrible mistake, the 3 were killed by fire from their own army. This was the absolute last thing anyone wanted. Another Bedouin hostage is Qaid Farhan al-Qaidi, 53 years old. The last one is Hisham al-Sayed, who has been held captive by Hamas since 2015. I told the story of Hisham al-Sayed and Avira Mengistu in another video, which I will link in the comment section. So these 4 Bedouin men are still being held by Hamas, together with 130 other people. By refusing to let these hostages go, Hamas keeps the war going and tries to win the sympathy of the world by showing the destruction of Gaza. They could stop all of it right now by giving themselves up and letting the hostages go home. But they don't. They will sacrifice every last one of their people before they admit that they were wrong. Israeli Bedouins know what Hamas is. The Abu Asa family, one of whose members was murdered, has sworn bloody revenge and has offered a reward of $1 million for information leading to the murderers of Osama Abu Asa. Finally, I want to show you this clip of the head of the Al-Ziadna family, Ali Al-Ziadna, who recently confronted the Palestinian representative of the UN. He asks him, "Why did you kidnap my family members, and why are you still holding them?" Instead of getting an answer, he gets gaslit by the Palestinians, because there is no answer to this question. At least, not one that the Palestinian representative can say out loud.
معاك جواب ليه الحين كمسلم زيك انت صايم وانا صايم ليش خطفوا اخواني؟ جدا باللي خطفوا اخواني فيه لهم 5 شهور قاعدين في المنهارات على ايش؟ على اي اساس؟ مسلم زيك اتخذ رجعت التايلانديه وما رجعت ولادها رجعت التايلانديه من غير صفقه والمسلم اللي زيك خليته عندك في المنهارات على الجوع وهو جعان وعريان والله بيستر فيه.
تذكر اخوانك واخواتك المسلمين
كانوا بيشتغلوا
اللي استشهدوا في غزه 30,000.
ما بقول انه مشي ما بقول انه
75,000.
مشي لكن انا بقول لك ايش ذنب اخواني يوم 7/10 قبل الدمار انت خطفت اخواني. لو ايش خطفت؟ لو ايش خطفت؟ جيت لقيت عربي لو ايش بتاخذ؟
احكي ابدا من ايذاء المدنيين، تضامن معهم مع
حبيبي انا مع المدنيين عرسي من فوق، لكن ليش تخطفني انا مسلم زيك؟ انك قلت لي مسلم لماذا اشترتني؟
انت جاي هون تقول هذا الكلام.
ها انتوا وسط، انتوا وسط، ليش ما توسطوا؟
ما تخليهم يستغلوك.
انتوا وسط الكلام هذا الحماس.
ما تخلي اللي بيقتلوا الفلسطينيين يستغلوك، ما تخليهم يستعملوا.
So, how is all this going to end? We don't know. But I do know that all Israelis have been brought closer together by everything that has happened. All the different victims, survivors, and heroes of October 7 show the real Israel, a country made of various, very different people who came together and helped each other through something horrific and traumatic, who stood together and said, "No, I do not stand for this." The people of Israel are now more united than ever. And that is what happens when people are humans first and everything else later.